main lounge is bigger than a tennis court, but for all the opulence, this is a home. The pictures, which seem to leap out of the frames on the sideboard, and the golden and platinum discs which line the walls, give a clue to the identity of the man who lives here. Brian Johnson is a symbol of the rock age.
About 78 we started a band called Geordie Again with 3 new lads, you know. That was a great time. You know, at least we had a little bit of money in my pockets to sort of buy a chinky takeout. Can I say that?
Of course you can.
And you know, we'll get a prawn curry or something to eat between we, you know. It wasn't too bad.
I've had quite a lot of stories about how you started with AC/DC, but perhaps you can put the record straight for us.
Dead easy story. I was playing with Geordie. I got a telephone call. They wouldn't say who it was, you know. They just said, I'm sorry, we can't tell you who it is because of the fact that there's been a bereavement in the band and we don't really think it's time to let anybody know who the band is.
What?
I'd never been for an audition in my life, you know. I said, I can't go to London, you know. I can't afford it.
You really couldn't afford to go down to London?
No, I was broke. I was very lucky. I had a good friend who lent us his car. And as soon as I walked in, it was like a real friendly atmosphere. They just said, oh, hello, and had a can of brown ale waiting for us. You know, the News from Newcastle, and can of brown ale. Yeah, come on, we know you might be nervous. But I was tired. I was knackered. I wasn't nervous. I was just saying, hey, let's do it. I've got to get back. I've got a gig tomorrow.
How much were you getting paid for that gig? How much were you getting paid for that gig then? Have you an idea?
Heaton Buffs. I think Heaton Buffs will have always been good players. I think we're getting about 120 quid. I think.
Between how many?
Between 4 of us, which was like a big pay night. That.
Now, when was this? When you actually landed the job with AC/DC?
That was 1980.
So it's only 3 years ago.
It'd be 3 years ago, yeah. So it was. I must admit, it was the. If ever, you know, I look back on my life, that was the year that it really all started.
But how is it that a lot of people, and I'm talking about nosy people like myself, will say, well, how has he done it in such a short time? Because you seem to have a lot of money now.
You better ask me accountant that. I don't know. I think it's just, we did an album. It sold heaps and heaps and heaps, you know, right around the world, in countries that I've never heard of, you know. And I think the band itself's an honest, hard-working band. You know, they try the hardest to give the best value for money. But the only difference for me is I live in a bigger house. I don't pay the council rent anymore.
And, did you live in a council house?
Oh, yeah, I was brought up in a council house. My mother still lives there, she loves it.
The fans and people generally speculate about folk like you. They all say you're a millionaire now. Would that be true?
Hey, no. The tax man's watching. No, definitely not. But I'm, you know, unfortunately, I've got to leave the country for money reasons, and I never ever thought I would. You know, I was determined to stay here, but it's, you know, just I can't afford to, you know, any longer. Just the dog's even worried about it. I'm going down to Hawaii because Cliff, the bass player, already lives there. You see, me and Carol went out there in the summer last year. And it's about the most sensible place in America, I think, you know.
As far as your life as a star is now concerned, what has it meant to you in America? How recognised are you there?
Well, it's worse in America than it is here, actually. It's, you know, I'd never been to America in my life until I joined AC/DC. And the first gig we did there, you know, straight into Madison Square Garden. And, you know, just before I went on stage, I promptly got thrown out by the security, wondering what a bum like me was doing, hanging around Madison Square Garden. I mean, it was sold out, it was packed, and I couldn't get back in. So one of the chauffeurs who took me there spotted us, and he put us in the back of the limo, and he drove us back in again. As I say, in the States, all the religious and moral groups, they think we're real bad lads, you know. And,
because of the naughty songs?
Well, I think we drink too much, you know. We're making the kids wayward. I mean, have you seen an American kid? Hey, they're all crackers, man. You know, they're all mental. And because their lives are revolving, it's too fast. Their life's too fast. They cannot keep up with themselves, you know.
I'll tell you something, Brian. I didn't recognise you today without your cap on.
Oh, me dut. I've got it here, I put me dut on there. It's better. I started wearing this in Geordie, actually. The first gig I did was Westerhope Excelsior Club. And I put it on that night. I felt a bit daft, but I stuck with it. I kept it on. And the lads in the band says, oh, you want to keep it on, you know, it's a bit of a trademark. I feel comfortable when I go out in it, you know. It's just once upon a time, everybody used to wear them and know the umbrella. Are you thirsty? Are you thirsty, Tom?
Oh, I think I could be.
Shall we go next door for a drink?
Next door?
Aye.
Right, sure.
Drink. Hey, come and crew.
You better explain to the viewers that this is your house and not a pub. I thought we were going outside.
No, this is me recreation room.
Is it?
Aye. You get wrecked when you walk out of it.
Why do you have a bar like this in the house? I mean, you've got a dartboard, I see. You've got a pool table. It really is a pub, isn't it?
Well, it's just sort of a bit of a home from home, you know, in case sometimes, you know, when you do go out, you know, the driving stuff with a breathalyzer and all that. Sometimes it's handier just to crawl out of here and up the stairs into bed, you see.
You mentioned there a moment ago home from home. Well, although you are moving abroad, you have bought a house here. You seem to have your roots pretty strongly in the northeast. What is it about the area that still appeals to you?
The simple answer is because as soon as I did move away, I missed home. I missed me mates. You know, the band itself are great lads and all that, you know, but I mean, it's, you know, you still feel like you want to be home. You know, like, it's all right being in Hawaii, but what do you do at 7:30 when everybody else is getting dressed to go to the club? You know, you're still swimming, you know, and it's boring, you know, and you want to be back home. Because it is a buzzing little town, Newcastle. You know, it buzzes, you know, there's always an excitement there about something that's happening.
You talked earlier there about your old mates. Well, looking back to the days before Geordie, before your singing, you mentioned an apprenticeship. What sort of work did you do?
I've been a turner, a draftsman, window cleaner. I used to put in windscreens, you know, the emergency windscreen service on the M1. Vinyl roof fitter. Just about anything like that, you know.
I was looking a moment ago at your sweater there with Newcastle United emblazoned across it.
Yeah.
Had you ever got an ambition to be a professional footballer?
Oh, yeah. I just wasn't good enough, you know. I played for the United States of America against Italy.
Get away. Get away.
No, I did. I was the only Englishman in the team, actually. And we played Italy at the Fiorentina Stadium. There was about 25,000 there, you know. It was floodlit. My knees had turned to jelly, and it was against the Italian Showbiz 11. And they were unbeaten. And they thought we were going to be a walkover. But they didn't think that, you know, we had Chuck Norris, you know, the white Bruce Lee, he was centre half. Well, you know, you didn't go near the man, he was dangerous. And we won 1-0. And I think it was a fantastic night because Dino Zoff came down, the Italian goalkeeper, and he presented me with a Man of the Match award. And that was a fantastic night. Fantastic night.
How did you get to play for America? How did that come about?
I don't know, I got a telephone call. I think I was sitting, scratching my head one Sunday morning, reading the paper, and I got a telephone call right out of the blue from Los Angeles or something, and they just said, listen, do you fancy a game? You bring the ball. And, but we beat them, and it was great, and that was like the highlight of my life. You see, Tom, music's me love, and football's me passion. You know what I mean? It's two different things, you know.
Well, you may not have made it as a professional footballer, but you're hoping to make it into the professional soccer world as a director of Newcastle United. What stage is that at?
You shouldn't have said that. No, it's... yeah, you put it right on this.
You want to be a director of Newcastle United. You've got a bob or two in the bank. What's happened? Are you going to be?
I hope so. I hope so. I really do.
How much money are you prepared to put in at the club?
I said 100,000, and I mean 100,000. I'm not going back on my word. I don't want anything out of it. I want nothing, you know. And sometimes I think it may be a little unfair for me to be classed as anything to do with Newcastle United if I'm not there. And who am I to say that I could make a big difference to the team? I like to think I could, but you know, maybe I'm too inexperienced at it. You know, it's a frightening thought, you know, but I'd love to be able to do something. I know one thing I really would like to help Newcastle United with, and this is another thing that I found refreshing with the directors. They want to make St James's Park a good rock venue, which I thought was great. Once upon a time, they wouldn't even they would never have thought of that, because I remember Geordie tried to play there and they knocked it on the head.
Now, you're opening your own studio to cut discs in the city.
Yes.
Is this an ambition of yours to help young people in the music world?
Well, I'm really, yes it is. I'm dead excited because it's the realisation of a dream for me. I'm going to try and help people up here, you know. So, you know, without publishing companies and stuff like that. Yeah.
Well, look, I'll tell you what, we're going to do one of those magic things on television. You and me are going to pick up the whiskey.
Mm-hmm.
The cameraman's going to zoom in on us enjoying ourselves.
How can he? He's drunk.
And then he'll pick us up at the studios and we'll see what you're going to offer there.
See you at Shieldfield, lads.
Cheers. Well, here we are, Brian, just like that.
Yeah.
And this is the mixing desk in the new studio. I expect you know how all these buttons work.
Well, I know a few of them. It's just come in, so it's still pretty new to everyone in this studio. So, you know, we'll get the hang of it by tomorrow, I think.
Well, there have been recording studios for some time in the Northeast, but what's so special about this one?
To put it bluntly, it's the best. It's the best you can get, best that money can buy. And we've already got about 3 or 4 American bands, big American bands, very interested in recording here for tax reasons, obviously, to record in England. There's some European bands want to come over here, and but you know, at the same time, we don't want to frighten off local talent. You know, we don't want to frighten them off by huge prices. You know, we've obviously got to keep ourselves within the sort of framework that, you know, people up here can afford.
Well, you've talked to us about your international career. You're moving away next week, but here you've put your money into a recording studio on your native Tyneside.
Well, it's just, you know, the way things have been going the last couple of years, you know, everybody's been talking about recession and stuff like this, and there must be a lot of big money investors who really aren't putting as much money as they should. They may be waiting, hedging their bets a little till the recession's over. I want to invest my money here because the future of the talent in the Northeast, I mean, it's the biggest hotbed for music in the world as far as I'm concerned, and I just want them to have the best, you know.
First off, it's really been a while since you guys have put out an album. What have you been doing in this interim period?
Swimming, surfing, bit of tennis. You know.
And when you're not, obviously, during this time, and an awful lot of music coming out of Australia, and I imagine you can correct me if I'm wrong, I imagine you've been putting an awful lot of time at home, since when you're on the road, you're out there so long.
We never really stop, even if we're not on the road. We're always doing something, writing songs and going in studios, putting tracks down.
And Brian, did you move to Australia when you joined the band?
No, I didn't.
Oh, they wouldn't let him in.
I tried, you know.
Because the question I was going to
They
ask...
only let convicts in.
The question I was going to ask is, because the Australian music scene, as far as we're seeing it in America, is so strong right now.
Yeah.
And during this interim period, I was wondering if you get out to see other bands as they're coming up.
You get to see maybe little people, but it's mainly when you're on the road you might bump into somebody here or there. You know.
But back home?
Yeah, somebody might have spilled a drink on somewhere and wanted to get your back, you know.
And the new album was called Flick of the Switch. And who produced it this time around?
We did. Can't you tell?
Now, after years of having a producer to kind of work with all this time, especially Mutt Lang, I think you've worked on the last 3 albums prior to this one, right? Did you find it difficult to self-discipline yourselves going into the studio?
He's got none.
It was, I think it was a little bit harder, but I mean, I think once we adjusted, you know, because like, see, if I was doing some vocals, Malcolm and Angus would be there trying different things, you know, and at the end, I think the band just got what they wanted. It was a straight rock and roll album, which is exactly what they went into this to do. But just a little adjustment, really, wasn't it?
Yeah,
it's just like an extra pair of ears that aren't there, or another
We done it
voice.
in the Bahamas, so we needed more oil. You know.
Is that where you mixed it as well?
We did. We done, well, biggest percent of it, yeah.
Why the Bahamas? I think that's interesting to the layperson who doesn't know about studios.
Great pool, great beach.
Yeah, but you got great beaches in Australia.
True, but they're always shutting them whenever I come around.
Too many bloody sharks there.
But it's good sound, you know. And that's mainly why we go there. We do actually work, you know, when we go there. Not like certain species, you know, we get there and sort of lie around the beach, Johnson and other people like that. We go in there and we just work. It's good sound in there. It's a great live room for us, for that sound.
Do you also find it being, even though I'm sure it's beautiful, but being in a place that's in a way kind of in a remote area is better to keep the band together and a little disciplined?
Yeah, it's good. I mean, at least, you know, if he's lost somewhere, you know, you've only got 10 or 15 miles to cover. You know? I mean, when you come here, you know, here's the band in Texas and he's in LA, you know. I mean, he goes for long walks.
I don't have a drink problem. I just get a drink.
A direction
I get
problem.
drunk. I fall down, and it's no problem at all.
You end up in San Francisco. You know, okay. You guys are on the road right now. How's the tour going so far compared to other
It's
tours?
been great. It's been a lot of fun. You know? I actually get to see people now. You know? You start to learn. Every time you come here, you know, you start to learn. I know how to get tea out of them now. You know, things like this.
Alto, how many, let's say, numbers, as far as numbers is concerned,
Numbers.
how many times have you toured the United States? This will mark the what?
Well, we've been coming here since 77, on and off. Geez, you stumped me there. I'd say we've, roughly in that time, 5 or 6 times in heavy touring. You know, a lot of times we came in, done a good 6 months, you know, when we first started, you know, and then we'd go away and then come back a couple of months later. We like your country.
We like your band.
I hope so.
Well, I think you've seen that. You grow each time. Is that strange
Well,
as well?
not really, not physically.
Is that strange as well, like when you're touring, and because you start out, you're playing, opening for other bands, playing small clubs, then all these, you know, is it, hopefully it's progressed as it has for you.
Yeah, well-
where now you're playing arena-sized halls. Do you feel you have to project more when you're playing in an arena than you would, like, say, if you were playing in the old days in a club?
No, we've always had that approach of, you know, you're here, it doesn't matter what you're there. You know, you go in this. To me, it's just the same. You know, a lot of people say it's not, but I for one, to me, it's always the same.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
But that's true. I asked.
I mean, we're
I
pretty
shouldn't have asked you, Angus, because you've always put out that kind of energy. I'm sure, regardless. But I don't know with Brian if it's true, especially as the vocalist, and you do have to shout a bit. Now, when you're playing in a small club, as opposed to, like, say, playing on Madison Square Garden type of hall, do you, in a way, in your gestures, do you have to be a little grander?
I don't know, if you're singing rock and roll, even in a small club, I still think you should give it as much as you do
He's
with a
lying
big hall.
again. He's saying he's singing. I haven't heard him sing yet. He's been bragging about this ever since I met him. He's been
I've done
saying,
a,
I
I've done a
sing.
good cover-up job for the last 3.5 years.
It's
A
clever.
military flair from somewhere, I don't know. But he set it off as we started singing the song. It stuck in the ceiling and it started a fire up in the ceiling. Oh,
And everyone
Forget
thought
it.
it was that, what's his name, Christopher Reeves, Superman.
we couldn't believe it, you
And
know.
I thought it was only like 3 days into the tour, and I thought it was geez, that effects guy is something else. You know, look at this.
It was really strange. It was...
Everyone thought it was an effects.
Yeah, so the audience thought it was
us, yeah.
Until they saw all the firemen scrambling.
Did you have to stop the song?
No, well, I mean, we can't stop, you know. We keep going. We're a bit like the Titanic.
They had a good band.
What are some of the other bizarre experiences you've had during your shows over the years? And I'm sure you've had.
Oh, we've
plenty.
had, I mean, with the fire thing, we've had a lot of those, you know. I remember once in his hometown, standing there, and we pull up to go to the show. And as we're going in, there's all people saying to me, you can get autographs and sign and all. I'm standing in, and I saw people all running out with equipment and stuff, you know. Then I feel a hand on the back of my shoulder pulling me, you know. It was just, that was to do with when we were doing Highway to Hell with Bond before Brian. And it was just from that, a lot of the songs on it, like Highway to Hell, Shot Down in Flames. You know. Whenever we seem to have these songs on there, you know, the arsonists seem to come out, you know.
In fact, speaking of that, in the past, critics have associated, rightly or wrongly, heavy metal music with violence. Do you think in that way that heavy metal...
We never promote that.
Do you think heavy metal is receiving a bad rap?
Want to fight?
No.
I think it's just...
Psychology.
yeah, they...
People that don't understand. It's really good fun. You see those kids, they're all smiling.
Yeah.
You know.
too many psychologists writing reviews these days.
Yeah, it's just fun. I mean, you go out there. There's basically, I mean, you're going to get an incident anyhow at any show with that many people. It's pretty hard to keep it down. But it's always been, with us, it's been pretty good, you know. I haven't seen as much on this tour as what I've seen on a lot of tours. You know, when I first used to come, I used to see people getting carried out in blood and all sorts of stuff. You know.
Do you think the audience are the audiences in America a little more demonstrative than, say, the audiences in Britain or in Australia?
I think they all react. It depends who they are. We seem to have this following of people all over the world, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, when you play to them, they all seem to respond the same way. Get off!
Has anyone ever measured the decibel level which you play?
Yeah, a lot of deaf people.
Yeah.
No, has anyone really seriously ever measured the decibel level of your music?
Yeah, they come with meters and everything. But I mean, they say, oh, this is harmful to this and that. But I mean, we stand there up there all night. I mean, I'm constantly, I mean, you see me, I'm running up and down. That's to get away from it.
It hasn't affected your hearing at all over the years?
What?
I asked that once because, seriously, I had the pleasure, I never thought about it, but I had the pleasure many a year ago of standing in front of Jimmy Page's amp when he was going into communication breakdown. And I thought I was going to die. I don't know how, I mean, you know, where you start to shake. And I was wondering, how do you do that night after night without it? Because Pete Townsend seriously has suffered some hearing loss and seriously wonders about whether or not the kid should sit directly in front of the speakers, you know, when he's playing to them, because he's made some statements in that way.
It really is no. I think no, because I've stood there. I mean, I've had my head inside the things, you know. And it's not really the volume, it's the frequencies, you know. And if it's too toppy and that, of course it's going to hurt your ears. If it's too deep, maybe so. But it's usually the top end of it, you know. And if you can keep that down, you know, usually that's within. We've got a lot of stuff on there, but it's mainly for the spread. It's not mainly for the sheer volume. You know.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of people go.
And in major arenas too, which of course is something I think that's come about in the last 5 or 6 years, putting those speakers up above the stage.
Yeah. That's so you can deafen the top row.
Listen,
You just can't leave the bottom ones to fend for themselves. I've got to give it to the top ones too.
Brian, Flick of the Switch is your third album now with AC/DC. How do you feel as lead singer at this point?
Again.
Lead shouter. How do you feel as lead shouter at this point?
No, I'm still enjoying it, mate, you know. It's as much as ever, you know. I'm a little bit more relaxed now, and I'm enjoying it more and more as the time goes on, you know. But just, you know, hope it keeps going.
When did you join AC/DC? You know?
I joined in 1980, about March 1980.
What were the circumstances concerning your joining?
I just got a telephone call, you know, up home, somebody to do with a band. I'm not sure who it was.
Wasn't me.
Well, it wasn't any of the band. Yeah. They just asked us to, you know, if I was interested to come down and try an audition, you know, and I thought somebody was fooling us at first, but I found out it was genuine. I went down and I had a sing, and it just happened real quick, you know. It was like a blur after that.
Who were you playing with prior to that?
I was just playing with a local band, you know, just a local band up in Newcastle, and we just used to play the clubs and singing. Singing in the clubs.
An opera.
But you had to be fairly good up there, otherwise you dodged the bottles a little bit like the Blues Brothers, you know, chicken wire and all that.
Yeah, I threw one night and nearly got him.
Had you heard about him? Or obviously you'd heard about him.
We did. Different people had suggested him. Mutt Lange had heard about him, and Bon had recommended him. Many years ago, Bon had toured in a band through England, and it had opened for the band Brian was in, this band called Geordie. And it was one of the few people Bon said this guy was a good singer. Though he did say that the guy had appendicitis that night and he was rolling around the floor and everything. You know?
Is that true?
Yeah, Bon thought it was part of your act.
Was that really true? I went to the hospital.
Really? Bon thought it was great. Here's this guy rolling around the floor and you go, wow, get it on.
Tell us about that, Brian.
It was a real gorgeous place called Hull, and That's a
At the
fishing
seaside
town,
resort.
Seaside resort. And I don't know. We were just doing a set, and I just had a pain like you wouldn't believe, and I just went down. I couldn't stand up anymore, you know. And
You couldn't sing.
acute appendicitis or something. So they whacked us off in the hospital or something.
Barton thought it was part of the act.
He did. But he
Yeah,
thought
but-
Brian, he thought Brian had a good voice. So.
So obviously you knew Barton prior to joining AC/DC.
No, well, I didn't really know him at the time, you know, because this band was from Australia, and I always remembered the big bus they had. I had this huge bus, and we always used to help them push it to start it. It was a big bus and all, you know. And
You snob.
I just remembered them, you know, they were always cold, and he had different hairstyle, and it was a different type band. So I only met him like once, so I really couldn't remember it, you know.
Were you a fan of their music?
Well, I never saw them, you know. I was arrived when they had just sort of started.
I never heard any of their records.
Who?
AC/DC.
Oh, yes, AC/DC.
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry, were you a
Sorry,
fan
I
of
thought you were
them?
talking about Bonds, man.
No.
I beg your pardon. Oh, yeah, I'd heard of AC/DC. We did a couple of the band's tracks in our own set, you know.
Did you? Which one?
Yeah. We did Rosie and, I forgot the other one, no.
I think you done Hell, wasn't it?
I think so, aye. Highway to Hell and Rosie.
Wow.
I think, aye. But I didn't realise how big they were in the rest of the world, you know. I knew they were a name band in England, but...
Angus, after Barton's death, were you guys thinking about breaking up at that time?
Well, the hardest thing for us at first is it's a tragic thing, you know. So we didn't know what we would do if we would continue or what. So we just left everything until after Bond's funeral and everything. And then we decided, my brother said, well, we can sit around and mope, or we had been working on tracks for the Back in Black album, and they said we could get in and just do what we're doing, and then from there decide what we're going to do.
Was your relationship with Bond rather strong?
Yeah, it was. I mean, we saw more of him than his family even, you know.
Because it's been said that you guys kind of looked upon him like a brother-like figure or father-like figure. Is that true?
Yeah, well, I mean, we used to always get into a lot of mischief together.
Because he was older than you guys were.
Oh, yeah, he knew all the tricks. He knew how to get into the telephones without paying and things.
Was he about 10 years older than you guys?
Yeah, he was. But he had a way of it. He fought like us. He was always the same, you know. He was always doing things with us, you know. And it was more like, as I said, he knew all the little things we could get away with, you know. He knew which policeman to hit and where to run and where to hide.
Did you find it rather ironic that probably, I would say, the Back in Black album, certainly in this country, put you right over the top?
Well, it did at that time, yeah. But I think for Bond, the Highway to Hell, that set the pace for here. But for the rest of the world, he was already an established thing. And the Back in Black thing, it took it over there.
You know, before Brian joined the band, AC/DC was pure Australian. And Brian became the first Welshman. You don't want to be called an Englishman, do you, Ryan?
I'm not Welsh.
You're not Welsh? No.
Welsh.
Isn't it Newcastle? Is Newcastle in Wales?
No, it's right on the border of Scotland. Right on the border. So we don't class ourselves as English.
They're more like,
And we don't class ourselves as Scottish. We're just
yeah,
like
they're
them.
more like Scotsmen.
Classify yourself as what?
Well, like the
Scotsmen with
Palestinians of England.
Palestinians.
Nobody wants one.
How are you accepted in the band when you joined? As far as, I mean, do you have to take a lot of ribbing because you're not Australian?
You had to put up a lot of money.
Well, I needed an interpreter for the first couple of days. No, it was great. I sound a lot more Scottish, I think. Although the Americans think I'm Welsh, I don't know why. But I sound a lot more Scottish.
Probably because you're Welsh on your bed.
Yeah. Welsh on my bed.
Did you find it difficult coming into an established band like that?
Oh, yeah, well, you know, obviously it's... but the lads in the band were so... Like, it was that comfortable. You know, you felt like you were just with regular lads straight away, you know. Oh, let's go out to the pub, let's have a meal. And, you know, they made you feel at home. You know, they all take you out and have a meal and all that, so...
Can you recall your first night on stage?
Oh, I kinda. I'll never forget it. It was in Holland or Belgium somewhere.
There was a lot of manure around his socks.
I was getting very, very worried. And I remember that I sang Shot Down in Flames second, and then we did another song,
And he sung that.
third, and I sang Shot Down in Flames. I was that worried, you know. I didn't know where the hell I was. You know, I'd never played with so much equipment as well to start with. I mean, it just. But once we got into it, it was good fun.
So
you
about
know.
halfway through that.
It seemed to flash by in about 5 minutes. You know, just.
Kids were
flew
really
by.
good with it too.
They
know,
were
they had all
great.
big banners and everything.
You know,
But
welcome.
you were probably more worried about your peer group. You're probably more worried about what the band thought about
Oh,
your
definitely. More.
Well, he knows what I think of him.
performance. On that night, though, Angus, were you concerned as well?
Yeah, until the moment we walked on, you know. Because I always remember the roar. I think everyone, they came from everywhere for those shows, you know. And they came from all over Europe. And when we come on, and when he come on, they had all big banners for, you know, Brian, good luck and everything.
Yeah, it was good. Long, you know.
And it was good. It was just an atmosphere, you know. I think people were glad that you'd carried on.
I think that was the main thing.
I know me bank manager was.
Now let's talk a little bit about AC/DC on stage, because all of you guys, and especially Angus, doesn't he? You put out an incredible amount of energy. How do you psych yourself up for a show? Because I mean, you're so laid back as we're talking right now.
This is it.
You know, you're just gonna lay back, and then you see him on stage, and
Well, they carry me to and fro, you know. I make sure I don't waste it, you know.
I mean, but I have never in my life. I mean, one of the things I always say when I'm on MTV and talking about your shows, we give the tour dates, is you have to see this man. I have never seen anybody play so well, any guitar player, and put out so much energy. 2 solid hours you'll go out there and just play your tush off.
Check handy.
Thanks so much, you guys. But do you have to psych yourself up before you go on stage?
I'm pretty lucky, you know. I can walk on and instantly become this devil, you know, little devil person. And it's good for, you know, it's like, I think everyone likes to be able to, you know, if they dress up for a night and go loony. I mean, I get to do it every night.
No, but what condition are you in when the show is over? Because you put out so much
Condition?
energy.
I've got a lot of bumps. I'm trying to work out. I've got a new hip at the moment. It's sort of coming out here. But I'm in pretty. I'm not great physically. You know, I'm pretty thin and that. Send more money. I need more.
Before you go into it, do you actually like work out for it? Because honestly,
No. Once I tried it, I said, oh, maybe I'll try running for a week or so, see what happens, you know. And I threw it away. I thought, nah, it's interfering with me cigarette smoking, so leave it out. And I always find whenever I'm there, it's just the freshness of it all. That's what it is. It's the energy, the music. To me, it's like all over and done with in 5 minutes.
Really?
When I look at him, maybe 10.
You're not exhausted afterwards?
Yeah, you get a bit exhausted, yeah. I mean, you lose a lot, you know.
No, I was saying now, it's making this change over to you, Brian, the same thing. It's like you've got a rather unique vocal style, and when you're kind of screaming at the top of your lungs. How do you do that night after night without blowing your voice?
The thing that keeps attacking his backside.
That's just the music drives you for a start, because if you cannot keep up with that, you're gonna look like a lost sheep there. So you know, you just keep up with the music, you know, and you enjoy it. Because I always think, like, a voice is just like another instrument, you know. It's not a.
But do you do something for your voice? Because in other words, if I go to a football game, and I use my voice, obviously I'm not singing, but I use my voice in my living. But if I go to a football game and cheer too loud, the next day I may have laryngitis. Now I know if I ever tried to do what you do, I wouldn't speak for a week.
Well, I don't know, you know, it's not as much a mystery as people think. It's the same as anything, you know. If I go to a rehearsal and I've had a layoff for a few months or something, or a couple of months, and I start rehearsal, after the first day I'm hoarse. But the second day I keep doing it, even though I'm hoarse, and it's just like anything else. Your muscles build up in your throat and everything, and that's all it is. There's no great mystery to it. You know, you just keep on trying it, and then your throat gets strong, and then you can just continue through, you know.
Do you have any special spray or anything?
Frog legs.
I like that.
We had a rumor that you gargle with beer. Is that true?
Sandpaper, more like it.
You actually gargle with beer?
Got beer, Jack Daniels, or yeah,
Gargle with Jack Daniels?
for you. It is. It's got all that natural hops and goodness and all the stuff.
Gives you plenty of hope.
And because early on in AC/DC's career, you guys were being labeled as rock and roll's bad boys. What were you guys doing at that time
Being bad.
to deserve that reputation?
I just think a lot of it's mainly from when we were on the road, a lot of things. But it always seemed to happen, the incidents, we seem to attract it. You know? It's a bit like, you see 5 guys in 5 dwarfs, walk in. It can either bring the class of a place up, which I say it does, but a lot of people say it brings it down.
Worrying about this word riff-raff, isn't it?
A lot of class, but all of it's low, right?
And that's what it is. A lot of people, when we were touring and things and those, anywhere we went, I mean, there's some days something happens, It's unavoidable, You can't run away with it.
But was that an image you portrayed off stage as well?
No, I mean, we never looked for trouble. I mean, it was always so easy to find.
That's it. You can go.
Now, Brian, you said in a recent interview, and I'll quote, it says, AC/DC is on the road to make a living, not pick up social diseases. We're more concerned with being a rock and roll band than living a rock and roll lifestyle.
I must say that.
And do you practice what you preach?
No, that was it.
We embarrassed him, I think. That was a quote.
Aye.
Was
Who
it
from? The doctor.
All right, so
Yeah.
I'm going to evade that one, all right?
Social diseases.
Angus, you and your brother Malcolm are just two of a musical young family. And what's the rest of the clan like? Are they into music as well?
Well, they're all dwarfs, yeah. They're all, they can all do bits and pieces, My old man claims he's a tap dancer. But they can all play guitars and drums and whatever.
Mom and Dad included?
No, they're the only ones. They don't do anything.
Well, where did the influence come in?
I think the milkman might have played a big part. I just seemed to grow, from one picked up and then the rest all sort of followed. I mean, we're all envious of each other. We all used to, I used to watch Malcolm, and then steal his things, and then he'd come in and look at mine and steal his.
Now, your brother, George, was in the Easy Beats.
Yeah.
Right, which I guess at that time in Australia was the equivalent to the Beatles. I mean, they were a big band.
They were. Yeah.
What was it like having a superstar as a brother when you were coming up like that?
Well, a lot of it was kept back from us, to keep you away. Because in those days, it was, you weren't allowed, like people with long hair were getting chucked out of schools and things like this. So a lot of it was kept away from us. And the people that looked after him in that were good with that. They made sure that it didn't affect any of your families or anything. But it was hectic for him, not for us, because we were all led to do our normal, useful selves or useless selves.
How old were you when that was happening?
I was really young. I was around 6, 7.
Really?
Yeah.
Were you playing instruments or starting to play instruments at that time?
I could, what do you say? Tinkle a bit. I still do it now.
One of the things that always amazed me about your playing, too, because I don't think it's really, when I think of Australian rock and roll bands, you don't hear very much of it. Your guitar licks are really blues-based, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, well, blues, yeah, a lot of it.
I mean, because an awful lot of music that goes under the genre of heavy metal, the guitar licks are something else, Wagnerian maybe, but not necessarily blues-based, and yet that's where you're coming from. Who did you listen to? Who inspired you when you first picked up the guitar?
A lot of the old stuff, Muddy Waters and things like this. See, these little records, you never hear them on the radio or nothing, but they were there, and they were freely available in shops and stuff, And the B.B. Kings, all of these people.
Any contemporary people like maybe Clapton or Beck or Page?
Yeah, a lot of for actual bands like the Yardbirds and that, heard them. Because the radio was always on in the house and that, and you always heard stuff. Even Little Richard and stuff. Love all that piano playing.
So actually, Mom and Dad were really rather open-minded when you were kids.
Well, I mean, there's that generation that each one of them's got their own little favourites, and they all wanted to hear what was what. There was always a big fight for that record player. See who got there first.
What do your parents think of heavy metal?
I don't know. Well, I know my mother sort of wondering still where I am. She told me to be home at 12, 6 years ago, and I still haven't made it.
I mean, because your brother George played in a more of a pop direction.
Yeah.
And what inspired you and Malcolm to go more or less into a heavier
I
form of
think,
music?
well, he helped us a lot in the beginning, in the early days. You know, producing, and him and Harry Vander. And he, with us, we were their big hobby, you know, because we could get out there and play and that. And they looked at it as that. It was their hobby because they had to make all the pop stuff at that time. And they were so used to working under that environment with record companies, this and that, and dealing with all of this, that when it come to us, it was fun for them again. It was, here's a rock and roll band, let's make it sound like a rock and roll. It frightened a lot of people, you know, because he was these two guys who were famous pop producers working with something like us. You know. And it was just something he always wanted to do, you know. And it was a good hobby for him and that.
Now, your present tour has just started, and you have obviously a few more months to go before it comes to a conclusion. And when you're off on your own, you know, what do you guys like to do? Oh, what a question. Here it goes.
Well, we start, we rape, pillage, rob banks. You know. There's for us, I mean, I immediately run away from him.
I prize my backside off a motorbike on a film once, 1 hour with. That's what I enjoy. Bikes and all that.
So this is the first UK tour since back in '84 when you were at Castle Donington. In front of some 65,000.
Yeah.
Yeah. You missed us.
Well, we have actually. We've been busy though, you know.
What you been doing?
Things, you know, like
Touring?
touring in America and the album.
Yeah. Because how do you cut these long tours? I mean, it amazes me. It must be a blur. You can't sort of remember every gig you do, surely.
Yeah.
You do. You don't get on stage and think, oh, where am I tonight? You know, you must.
Yeah, we're pretty good.
Yeah. You cope.
I think every gig's got something you remember.
Yeah.
A certain place, like a bright canary yellow dressing room with nice seats in it and a green carpet. You know, the crowd's being great, or you know.
What about your voice? How do you keep your voice together?
Fun.
You know. Do you ever have any problems?
Not really, no.
No.
Well, you obviously do, you know. But
You're a true professional.
Never been in tune since we hired.
So what does it
got
matter?
no to worry about.
Any changes to the set at all? Still got the cannon and the bell and...
Yeah. Anything we can find.
Now, after so many years together and some 11 classic albums...
My foot's gone this way.
He's been showing me his scars and he's going to see. Listen, how do you find... It must be difficult to top the last album each time. Surely... You're going to tell us in a minute. Hang on, there's a pause. A pregnant pause here.
Well, it's I suppose it always is. It's just every time you go in, you always, you know, you're always excited about your new stuff when you go in.
Of course.
And I don't think you think of the last album. You can when you're going in to do something new, you know.
Yeah.
If that makes sense, you know.
Because your last two albums, Flick of the Switch and Fly on the Wall, your new one, are self-produced, aren't they? Why did you decide to do that?
Just a matter of circumstance, you know. With our producer wasn't ready yet to go into the studio. He was still busy. So the boys went in and just said, right, we'll do it ourselves.
Yeah, do you think
Which is what they did in the beginning anyway, you know. We used to have a producer, I think, with my experience, the lads went in with a producer.
Anyway, yeah.
But they were still really telling the lad what they wanted. So in a roundabout way, it was really, all it is an extra pair of ears, you know.
Yeah. And you're pleased
an
with it.
expensive extra pair of ears.
Yeah. And you're pleased with it, yeah? Because, I mean, Flick of the Switch was a really sort of raw sound,
Well,
wasn't
it's
it?
one of my favourites, you know.
Yeah.
A lot of the lads like that one as well. It's just rock and roll album, you know, and I love it.
What about a live album? Because you haven't done a live album for 8 years now, isn't it?
If you want blood.
Yeah, If You Want Blood was the last one. Plans?
If I think people get a bit cheapened by, you know, these days anyhow,
Yeah.
live album. If we done something, maybe if we could do some new songs and perform them live. which would be a bit hard in our case, but
Yeah. You'd like to do one, would you, Brian? Live album?
Oh,
You've got a fair amount of attention from the moral majority in America, haven't you? They're calling you Satanists. Some of them are banning and picketing your gigs. How do you feel about that?
yeah, they buy tickets.
Yeah. Good publicity as well, isn't it?
No, sometimes. It's only when they go a bit far.
Yeah.
And they try to drag in, and now they had this guy in L.A. I don't know what they call it, Night Stalker.
Yeah.
And they try to push it that we were influenced by him listening to our records or something. It was an influence
That
on
doesn't help, does it, at all?
the
No.
teenage world.
Yeah. Because I was talking to Dee Snider, name drop, at Christmas about about the censorship over there, because some of these political factions are trying to pass this censorship on album covers. Do you think that's going to happen?
They did get it, they did.
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah.
But if you'll notice with cigarettes, they've got the same thing. And a lot of good it does.
Why have you put a lyric sheet on Fly of the Wall?
Because basically a lot of people don't understand it.
His Geordie accent.
Yeah, a lot of people ask for it, you know.
Yeah. Go back to your gigs, by the way. How do you choose your set? How do you go about choosing it?
Box with numbers in.
No, you do choose it. I take it yourselves, yeah.
The kids choose it, the
Yeah.
audience choose
Yeah.
it. No,
We try to do it. We try to change it around,
Yeah.
do different things here and different
Yeah.
things there.
Outrageous. Really.
Totally.
I've been hearing rumours.
Oh, yeah.
Got you worried, isn't it? Rumours.
there's
Rumours that AC/DC are going to be doing the soundtrack of the movie of Stephen King's horror stories. True or false?
True.
True, is it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Great. Looking forward to that. Something new, isn't it?
Yeah, it's good. Yeah.
You've done it.
Shows how
Aw.
quick we are.
You're going to let me hear it afterwards.
I haven't got it on it, like.
Oh.
That's Stevie, baby.
Love.
An American music journalist recently told me that Circus magazine have voted AC/DC as making the best comeback of 1985. How do you feel about that? Do you feel you made a comeback at all last year?
I didn't think it ever went away.
You just stopped giving interviews, and
It is true, though, that over the past couple of years you have made certain changes. You're in the early stages of a tour of Europe at the moment, and you've just been playing in the States, but you have cut back on touring a little bit over the past couple of years.
Not really. We've always been doing something. You know? If we haven't been on stage, we've been in a studio. If we haven't been doing that, we've been on stage. Yeah. If you're in one place, like if we're in America, people don't. Not everyone's going to know you. You know that you're in America. You know. It's just depending wherever you are. Whenever we come here, people say, "Where you been?" You know.
So you always keep busy, you're always doing something, even though we may not see you all the time in Europe.
Yeah. I mean, I haven't put on any weight in years. It was my suntan.
Aye, exactly.
Over the past couple of years and the past couple of records, you also got more involved with the production side of things. You had Mutt Lange, who produced 3 albums for you, but the last 2, Flick of the Switch, and the new one, Fly on the Wall, you've virtually done yourselves with a good engineer. And the result has been a much grittier, rawer sound. Was that an intentional move?
You don't know any.
Keep going. You can do it.
You hit it. Not really. We when we made each album that we do, we try and approach. With the last 2 albums, we just wanted to keep it mainly rock. For what we do best. And hence, rock music's got to be nice and loud and and a bit rough. We don't like all that polish. And that's what usually happens when we've worked with somebody like Mutt. They try to throw in all this polish, which you can find on any record. Especially coming out of America.
Yeah.
You usually find all these nice, smooth things.
Yeah.
And we've never been nice and smooth.
That's true. You are known for a much tougher sound.
Yeah, we more like sandpaper.
That's true. That's definitely been the case with the last 2 records. So when you aren't touring and making albums, do you see a lot of each other? Because you do live in different parts of the world. I mean, where do you live, Brian, for example?
Well, in America sometimes, but not all the time, And I've got a house in England, but the lad would get together and all that. I'll go and do and visit Mal and Ozzy and see Hang down there, and then pop in, see Cliff. So we see each other all the time.
Yeah.
We actually like each other in this group. It's funny, isn't it? It's not many people, you know.
It's been quite a few years you've been together, hasn't it? When the band was 74, it got together?
Yeah.
So it's been 12 years now.
Yeah.
And you're still all friends?
Yeah. We still say hello in the morning.
Well, when you look back on the early days, Angus, of the band, are there a lot of fond memories for you there, or are you much happier now that the band is a major success and very much established?
Nah, not really. We always went along exactly as we were, you know. We always done what we wanted to do. We never bothered with what anyone else said, what we can do and what we can't do.
Yeah.
So that's probably why we're still together as a band.
I think one of the reasons also why AC/DC is very successful is you have a very close relationship with the fans who come to see the band. You're very down to earth and you seem to have kept your feet on the ground despite the success.
I think that comes out when you go to the gigs. It's smashing when, you know, the kids outside the gigs actually come up, you know, call you by name, you know, straight away. And
Beat the shit out of it.
they're really good, as so you haven't been away, you know. And the thing is, the knowledge, that's what always gets me. Some of the books and the stuff they've got, I've never seen before. And they know everything, they know what he has for breakfast, and, you know, and they're really good. You know, maybe it's been 2 years since I've seen you, but they're right on the dot to see you again, you know.
Having spoken to the fans after shows, which is their most popular song, do you think? Which is the one you say, I'm really pleased you played that one tonight?
Well, this tour, I know a guy came along and he was saying to me, it's just good to see you, just to play the song Jailbreak.
Yeah, that's true, yeah.
So, I think you can always tell there's songs with us, it's always been very popular, like A Whole Lot of Rosie, you know.
Again, you know. But it's funny in Newcastle, you go into the club, one of the working men's clubs at a bar, and somebody will walk up to you and just saying, hello, I haven't seen you for a couple of weeks, you know, and you go, I've been gone for 4 years. It doesn't seem as though you've been away very long at all, you know. They're a good bunch, you know. It sounds like a cliche, but it is. From northern towns and working class towns, I should say, you get these great harder rock bands, you know, different kind of people who come from that kind of background, and I don't know how the hell it fits in, how it equates, but I know it's there, you know. From, you know, like the industrial towns in Germany, you get these great rock audiences, and same in France and the industrial part of Italy, you know. And in America, like, you know, you get your Chicago's and you know, places like that, Pittsburgh's, you know, real hard towns, you know, and that, you know, they look the same all the way across. They're the same kind of people, just talk different, that's all.
Aggression and
there's a lot of aggression there and anger, mainly at like in Newcastle, you know. I'm just checking because I come from there. The fact that you felt you were forgotten, the whole city was forgotten by the rest of of England, you know. They had a tough, you know. You're going, well, geez, you know, like in London, you know, they reckon they've got, you know, electric lights down there, you know, that kind of thing. You know, and they got trains underground, we got nout, you know, and it builds up into, you know, well, we're doing all the work here, we're building all these ships and digging the coal out the ground, and we get a pittance, you know, and I think that's where you build a song, and you used to see the only way to get out of there was to get into music or acting or anything, you know, just join the army, you know. Like the early songs of AC/DC from '74, they sound like they were recorded, yes, you know. I mean, Can I Sit Next to You, Girl, and there's just too many to mention, you know. I love them all, and they sound so fresh, and I think that's the secret of being in a good band, is like keeping your stuff without being dated at everybody, especially like, you know. I mean, that's easy for me. I don't have to leap around like Angus. I mean, I've just got to stand there and enjoy myself, you know, literally. And she's not even my hero, really. It's like when I think of Angus, you know, every night he's got a temperature of 100. Or never cancelled a gig in his band. That's one thing I've got to say in 11 years. Never pulled a gig out. I've seen cases with the boys being, I mean, like the doctors are just shaking their head and just went, you cannot go on. I mean, you cannot go on. And I'll say that. And especially Angus, I've seen him in some hellish states, you know, because he sweats so much when he comes up. He's so susceptible to cold, drafty runways to get to a dressing room and, you know, stuff like this. And he's only little, You know, you can, and but that little bugger, he goes on there, and you can't stop him. It's been some worried frowns some days. You're going, geez, the lad's going to die. But he gets on there, puts the suit on, gets on it, gives it everything he's got. Comes off and he actually feels better. You know, he's going, yeah, you know. And I like that kind of thing. We've been lucky in the band because we've made a big place feel like a small place, which is hard to I'm no great orator on the stage. I kind of talk like, you know, I wish I could, you know, like, yeah, you'll see some of that guys getting up there and going, hey, ready to ride, a little ride between your ears. And I'm going, how did it do that? I mean, I can't do it. It doesn't sound right, you know, it sounds false. But if they're doing it and it gets them going, we would rather just shut up, you know, just go, well, hello, how are you doing? And then, you know, that's it. You know, they want the money's worth. They want you to give 100%. And I think they've had the days of the trousers and the stretchy stuff. They've had that, and they've seen through that, you know, and they just want a good rock band up there. They, you know, just get the hell on with it, you know, just get on there and, you know, magazine as well as like the other local, you know, the regular European type stuff of heavy metal and whatever. They've always given us a hard time. I mean, mainly because they're really trying to figure out why we keep coming back and why the kids keep wanting to see it, and it's never bothered with. You know, a critic is one ticket and one record. That's all he is, and he gets his record free anyway, so screw him. I'd rather give it to a kid, you know. And he's just one ticket. And I've said this before, I remember, you know, you'll get them, like, critics will go and say, I don't know how 10,000 people can be wrong and like it. I was there and I thought it was dreadful. Everybody else was wrong, and that's the way they think, you know. Maybe their girlfriend didn't get them a job on the way to the gig, maybe they couldn't get parked, maybe, you know, I never bothered us. Never bothered. As long as the kids come back and say, hey, that was a great gig, you know. Different gigs and all that. A lot of the kids have been really getting serious about a live album, you know. They said, would you, you know, we'd like to get one. And so this time what we did was we took certain parts of the world, we just got little mobile recording studios and we set them up. And we've recorded, so we don't know what's, you know, we've got to get it all sorted out yet, so I cannot say for definite that there would be one, but if there was, we'd be happy. So I'll keep my fingers crossed that we've got some good stuff down there. I don't know why, I just went there and I liked it, so I just thought I'd give myself a little pitch, a little apartment there, have a good time, hey brother. But, you know, I'm always home, because, you know, my mom and my family still live up in the northeast of England, and, you know, Mal lives here, you know, and now and again in between Australia. You never know where he is. And so I've got a lot of buddies here as well. And it's getting harder and harder to say where you do live, because we don't travel around that much. You know, from one place to the next. It's like I'm here for 4 days and I'm trying to figure out how I can hire a car and drive up and see me ma for a day. And if I do it, I get me lug clipped.
And when did you actually arrive in Australia?
Let's see, 63, I think.
Yeah?
When they come.
And how old were you then?
Geez, that is personal.
No, I mean like around.
How old are you?
God knows.
About 4 or 5.
Yeah? Now, obviously your brother was influenced by, well, both your brothers, Alex and George, were influenced by certain musical influences from England.
What are you drinking there?
I'm not drinking anything. What were you, when did you first get some influence as far as your own musical tastes were concerned?
Really from when I was pretty young.
Yeah?
Because you had a lot of old rock and roll songs, you know, Little Richard, Buddy Holly, stuff like that. It was always being played in the house, right. So I picked up from that.
So who was playing the music, Alex or George?
Both of them.
Yeah.
Alex, George, and then later on Malcolm.
Right.
Yeah. And I mean, they've all got their own different flavours, but yeah, it was mainly that sort of stuff, Little Richard.
Okay, so where were you living at this stage?
That was Scotland, just before we come to Scotland.
No, when you came to this country.
Oh, to here. let's see, I think they had it in Port Arthur in the old convict settlement somewhere down there.
Right.
Yeah. No, Sydney, here in our hostel.
The Easy Beats, how much influence did that have on you two? Seeing your brother in a band that was the biggest band in the country?
Oh, a lot. Mm. I mean, as far as what we like musically, a lot. Mm.
Did you go to many of the concerts?
We weren't really that, I mean, it was good in a way because my father kept us away from a lot, because there was a lot of, they always sort of warned you what to keep away from, because also you get, at that time, I mean, we all went to school, so if you're in school, at that time it was very new even for people I mean, in school we used to get lectures on people with long hair,
Right.
So they used to always tell you not to say who your family was and all what. If they ask you what your brother told them, just say they're in a musical, but not to tell them that they play in a rock and roll band.
Music. Obviously, I mean, some of them were going to find out. They were going to find it out at school, and then it would have spread. So once you were sort of like Angus Young, brother of George Young, star of the Easy Beats, I mean, like, how did you cope with that?
Well, it was pretty easy, but I mean, they were pretty good because the guy that managed them really kept it quite under control,
Yeah.
He made sure that nobody knew where they lived and whatnot. You got the occasional kids, there was a big raid once on our house. I remember coming home from school, seeing hundreds of kids mobbed outside the door, But I mean, I was pretty smart. I mean, I just went round the block and then jumped over the fence and come in my house that way.
Right.
Yeah.
So where then did you and Malcolm have the want to get into a rock group? And how did it happen?
Because I used to play in school in bands and things, or with a few friends. And Malcolm was playing around Sydney in little club bands. And then he just turned around one day and said, why don't me and you play together and we'll get in people that we want to play with,
Right.
And so it was mainly the two of us together. And we just got people who fitted in well with us. Bond came about a month later or so, So it all sort of fitted pretty good.
How were your parents coping at this stage? I mean, it seemed as if the whole bloody family were going into rock groups.
Well, my parents were never really, I mean, they like music and everything, but it's for them it's a different era,
Yeah.
So.
Did they discourage you at any stage?
No, not really.
I mean, you're a great guitarist. I mean, was it just natural? Was it something you had to learn, or?
No, I stole it all those. No, I was lucky I could pick it up,
Yeah?
Yeah, I just, from when I was very small, I could just pick up what I didn't know. I picked up off Malcolm or George.
Right. Well, apart from your guitarist ability, someone sort of said, and I hadn't thought of this until just recently, that perhaps little Stevie from the Easy Beats may have had an influence on you as far as a showman is concerned.
Yeah, Stevie was a good influence for anyone, I think. Bon also was very much influenced by Stevie. And in his ability to get a crowd, at that time there wasn't really, if you look back, there was not much happening. I mean, you got your pop stuff, but there was no. I mean, where the kids were in the rock and roll, when kids went to clubs, we used to see what they didn't like. Which was people coming in doing cover versions of other people's songs, and what kids really liked at that time was rock and roll music, nice and loud, and they could stomp along and clap your hands and whatever. You had to get people to look at what you were doing. Stop the guy swilling on his beer and look at you.
Yeah.
It's hard to get people to make it to even clap in them days.
So how did you do it? Was it Bond's influence of being from the Valentines, which was an offshoot really from the Easy Beats?
Well, it was mainly just from going out there and trying to be a bit outrageous, that's all.
Yeah?
Just being, hamming it up.
So where did the songwriting come from? Where did you actually sit down and write songs?
Well, that come mainly between me, Malcolm,
Right.
and then with Bond, when Bond came along. and the three of us put our heads together. You know. And George, him producing, you know, because he was always good at that. He always let us do what we want.
Right.
So it worked great. We didn't have to be because George had spent most of his life doing commercial songs, and this was his big chance to say, no guys, I'm not going to make you into some commercial, you know, band that just does like music for, you know, for singles. You're going to be a rock and roll band that's going to make, you know, you're going to be a band as good as the Rolling Stones or something. You know?
Right.
Every show to us was an event.
Right.
You know, we went in there to you know, get everyone in the place, rocking and jumping. You know, that was our whole intent. You know. And that I mean, put it this way: even if they hated us, we knew they'd go away remembering us. You know?
Right.
Because we'd always do anything for a clap. You know?
Right, now, recording-wise at that stage, how much time did you spend in the studios, like, doing a single? Was it an easy exercise, or was it a long exercise with George and Harry? I mean...
Oh, very quick.
Yeah?
I mean, yeah. We could go in and knock out an album in 2 weeks, in between gigs, you know. So, but that was the speed of things at them days. You didn't have time, you know, because we were working everywhere, you know. We were doing, in some places, you were doing 3 or 4 shows a night. Yeah.
Baby Please Don't Go, first single.
Yeah.
Why was that the track to be the first single?
It really wasn't. It was really the other side of the single, but everyone else flipped it over.
Yeah?
Yeah. And their main reason for that was, they said, the song on the other side was a bit calmer, you know. And everyone said, that's not AC/DC. The ones who knew us and flipped it over.
Right.
So hence we had this. It was good, you know. I mean, for us it was magic, you know.
Yeah.
6-minute rock song. You know.
The next single is Jailbreak, which was a big song, a song that, in fact, Countdown did their first video ever with. What were you expecting at that stage? I mean, as far as chart success was concerned.
Well, I mean, in them days, I mean, it was also. I mean, for us, if anything, we done anything, we always thought it was luck.
Right.
You know? So we were over the moon. You know?
You'd seen your brother, he'd had a huge hit with Friday on My Mind, and then they had sort of subsequent successes and then just sort of died away from the overseas scene. Were you looking at that stage for an overseas success or what?
Well, when we first started playing and everywhere, we always said we didn't want to, we wanted to be able to go and play in other countries.
Right.
And we were very lucky that we got the chance to go through. I think Weir in Britain signed us, so we were very lucky not to even have to have gone from here to be signed. And then when we went there, they helped us by getting us on tours and us doing gigs in clubs and stuff. That helped break it for us there, and then from there, the next step was going to America. Yeah.
Right, now, before we get on to the overseas side of it, how hard was it in this country to have to do sort of night after night? I mean, which you did, you know? Performance after performance, you know?
Well, it was pretty easy. You had to. I mean, you had to be in some cases, you had to get, I think, the money and stuff to live, you know?
Right.
And at the time, I mean, there was not much money. I don't know how it is now, but I know at that time there was not. You know, so you were working for small money, you know, and trying to get big rewards. And,
right.
But we knew that we would have to leave here and go play somewhere else to actually earn or be successful at what you're doing.
A Long Way to the Top, a great song, still an anthem to most rock bands. And yet it was it was your third single.
Yeah.
Where did you get those sort of lyrics from? Was it your brother, looking at your brother, or Alex, or what?
Well, it was really a combination. Bon came in and he had a whole stack of words. We had the music more or less together. And George looked, you know, George said, give us a look and see what you got, Bon, you know. And Bon showed him all this, and George just went, hey, Bon, that's one of the best lines I've seen in a rock and roll song. Bond said, "You like it?" He said, "Yeah." He goes, "Well, here's a few more pages to go along with it." You know? So it sprung from that, you know. And then they worked on it, and that's how it came about with it.
It was a song you enjoyed doing.
Yeah, well, I've enjoyed doing them all.
Yeah.
I mean,
it's a song that's still in your repertoire too, right?
Yeah, we do. We do. Well, a lot of old songs.
Yeah. How are you and Malcolm and the rest of the band coping at that stage?
For us, it was never a big pressure, you know, because I mean we can only be ourselves, you know.
Right.
And so there was never any real. We never, up until that time, actually, for us it was still all fun, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where it really was, you know. We just liked to keep it fun. We didn't want to be stuck down or bogged down with it all.
Yes, but I mean, you're getting people like myself sort of demanding your time, asking you to compare Countdown.
Yeah.
I mean, did you enjoy that period in your time, or was it a hassle?
Nah, I didn't mind it, you know. I mean, but you can only, it just depends on how you look at it. I mean, you can say some things you've done in the past were stupid, and then you can say other things were great, you know.
Right.
I mean, there's some stupid things we've done too, you know. I mean, gone across the Nullarbor Plain in the back of a truck, you know, covered in red dust, you know, sort of like lying there, waking up in Perth and then getting kicked on stage, you know. So, I mean, there's things like that you can look back and say, well, that was stupid. You know, why did you do that for? You know, and then at other things you can say that was great. Yeah.
Now, a strange thing is...
I mean, put it this way, I wouldn't change it, and I would do it all again.
You're known these days as a heavy metal group, which I find absurd, you know. How do you find it when they classify you as a certain type of group?
Well, it's a bit silly, really. I mean, because we've never come out and said we're a heavy metal group.
Right.
We just, for us, it's just the same as what it always was since 1955. Or it's rock and roll music, no more, no less. You know, maybe it's a bit louder, but apart from that, it's no different. Mm.
Okay, you released a couple more singles, and then Highway to Hell, which, funny enough, you've had to live with, I think, in certain areas since, you know. Highway to Hell, where'd that song spring from?
Well, that's, I think we had just come from here. We'd done, we were working on material here, and then we went to America, and we were starting to work with a new producer, Mutt Lange. You know. And we were rehearsing before we'd even gone near Mutt Lange, and me and Malcolm more or less were in there one day bashing away, and I came up with the idea for that song. Highway to Hell. Yeah. I think it's a great song.
Right. On New Year's Eve, when they were threatening to pull the plug out, and they did in the middle of your performance,
Yeah.
and you just kept playing on, you know, to the point that it ended up sort of some guy carrying Bond on his shoulders, just playing the bagpipes, and you were still singing. Did you enjoy those times?
Yeah, I mean, you couldn't, that sort of stuff you couldn't, if you told somebody about them, they wouldn't believe it.
No, I didn't believe it at the time.
Yeah. And, I mean, we've had a few of those. I mean, it's a pity we didn't have, you know, like camera crews and things to record these things, you know. But that's, you know, they're like things that, it is, I think for us, it's, you know, I think other people wouldn't have been there, and they would all been all heartbroken about it. But for us, I mean, it only added to the adventure.
Right.
So,
okay, so you go to England.
with the plugs pulled on as many more.
The plugs pulled on. And you're going through a change in English music because you're suddenly finding the punk era happening, with the Sex Pistols breaking out. How did you approach music at that stage? I mean, when you're you go to England and you say, right, this is the way the English are thinking at the time, you know?
Well,
the Easy Beats certainly did this, you know?
I think for what we were, when we arrived there, they were already getting into this punk stuff, and so for us it was we were lucky in the respect that I think people who come and saw us you know. For them it was something different. They didn't have really much, except they were still lacking a lot. You know, they didn't have their, I don't even think they had the Sex Pistols happening up until,
It hadn't broken.
yeah, later on.
Yeah.
You know. So for us it was pretty good, you know. But as I say, we always steered away from somebody calling us punks or whatever. We never sort of glowed under any banner. You know, we always kept away from all those things because we always believed that once people you start giving yourself a tag like, you know, punk, it's a bit shallow, you know.
Well, I mean, you had great support from one magazine called Sounds, who gave you great support.
Yeah.
Whereas usual, I mean, like NME and Melody Maker would almost slag anyone.
Yeah, well,
The other thing
I like that too.
is where you reopened, which has been an era of the past, the Marquee. Whose idea was it for you to play at the Marquee?
Oh, it was actually the guy himself who run the place heard about us, and they, at the time, you know, they were trying to get their old glory back again.
Right.
You know, so they asked us to come down and play, and the guy saw us and saw the reaction and everything, and he just kept putting us on, you know, and it only took a little while, and suddenly it got bigger and bigger and bigger. I think at that time, though, you know, they were ready, because in the papers, the media was all saying punk stuff. It was all the stuff that's going to be happening. And then you had us, on the other hand, who was playing in, because after the Marquee, that we started to do bigger shows and it got bigger, till we could eventually start touring.